Wow, it wasn't until right now I realized I dressed to blend in with my kitchen. So I'm not here to tell y'all your own thoughts, but I do think when people hear the words meal prep, usually what comes to mind is like very Pinterest-esque Tupperwares all laid out with enough chicken and rice and green beans to feed a small army. Which I'm not against, you know, if that works for you, that's great, that's superb, but let's be real, it doesn't work for me. That does not mean that I still don't meal prep. No, no, no. I do, it's kind of like the poor, lazy, ugly man's way of doing things. Here's the thing, I'm a firm believer in just recognizing stuff that you suck at. I recognize a lot, and then once you recognize those things, instead of trying to change the way that you are to accommodate those things, why not just change the way you do those things? Which is why today I'm going to be sharing with you meal prepping tips for simpletons. Starting with prep food, not meals. My point with this is just taking like an hour out of your day to just get everything ready to go. It doesn't mean that they have to be completely ready to go. Your goal is basically just getting things like 90% of the way there. But this way, during the week, you're still getting a meal that didn't take you any time to put together. It's still healthier for you, but you don't feel like you're just eating constant leftovers. And not that there's anything wrong with leftovers, but again, sometimes I'm a brat. Who raised me? Two staples that I personally like to always have on hand are things like fruit. I like to go to Costco and buy those giant melons, and then you can just come home, chop them up, stick them in one Tupperware or multiple Tupperwares, whatever you decide. Getting everything prepped and ready for the week I feel like gives you a lot better a chance to actually eat them, whereas if you just buy them and then let them sit on the counter, 5 days goes by and nobody has cut the damn melon and then it spoils. You can do the same thing with strawberries or just whatever fruit you fancy. I also really like to do this with vegetables. It's just buying vegetables and then prepping them for whatever I could possibly do with them. This could be already making a mirepoix if you're into that. I find that if I have vegetables that are just ready to take out and eat throughout the week, I will do so, but the work of having to actually take it out and chop it and then eat it every single time just wrecks me. One of my favorite things to do is I make little fake hummus plates basically. So I'll get things like snap peas, carrots, pita bread. That's obviously not a vegetable, but shut up. And I just chop everything up and then stick this into little Tupperwares and then just buy those little individual hummuses that goes with them, because then this you can literally just grab anytime you're about to go out the door and bam, you have a tasty, handy, ready to go snack. So for say like actual meals, sometimes I do actually go ahead and do some more official meal prepping and make some food that just needs to be heated up. But regardless of that, I do like to keep a couple simple staples ready to go as well. One staple that I like to pretty much just constantly have on hand is a beautiful little thing called rice. And I like to make a big pot of this because even if you don't use all of it for what you were initially going to use, one thing that I like to do if it's at the end of the week and I'm kind of out of food and I just have a little bit of rice left, I will like treat myself and go to like a nicer grocery store or just even like Whole Foods and get their takeout of stir fries that are already made, because my logic is they're charging you by the pound, so I'll just buy the stir fry part and put a lot of sauce in the container, because then I'll come home and I know I already have rice, but then you're not paying for rice, which is heavy, so you can kind of justify it, or at least that's what I do. Or another thing is too is I like to buy just like masalas and like curries that are already ready to go to in the freezer and just throw on top of some rice and bam, you have a whole meal, which yes, was partially frozen, but it's the end of the week, people. These are random tips, they're out of order, leave me alone. Or just even throwing it in soup. Again, like I go on forever about the beauties of rice. But other than just using the remain, this is also something that I like to use for just a lot of meals. So one of my favorite ways to make rice is to make sort of, it's, I guess you could call it like a Spanish style rice, but again, it's the lazy poor man ugly version of it. Hey! You're gonna go to make your rice just like you normally would. You're gonna substitute out half the water that you would normally use for a salsa. And this can be any salsa. It does not have to be nice salsa. But I do personally like a nice chunky one. So just replace part of the water and just cook this as normal, and wow, you suddenly have flavor, you have a little bit of spice, you have a little bit of life. Or you could be extra fancy like I am. And when your rice is pretty much almost done, I like to just throw in some things like half a bag of frozen corn or a can of black beans or both. Like I said, usually at the beginning of the week, I just make a big pot of this. Sometimes it's a Spanish style rice, sometimes it's just white rice, whatever it is. But what I like to do is use this as sort of a base for my week. So if I make the Spanish style rice, a lot of the time I won't just eat that 7 days in a row. This can serve as something really fast, like throwing some lettuce, tomato, guacamole on top, maybe some crumpled up chips, and bam, you have a burrito bowl in under 3 minutes. Or skip the chips, put it in a tortilla, you have a burrito. Or make several burritos, put some enchilada sauce on that, toss it in the oven, and wow, you have a whole tray of enchiladas. All of these things can be made from rice. But because you've already made it and you've kind of done a lot of the work, you can decide how much more work you're willing to do, but you have options. Next up, another thing I like to kind of just always have on hand is soup. Soup is a beautiful thing. Soup's one of those foods you can make a big batch of and just leave in the fridge, and usually by the end of the week it actually tastes better than it did a couple days prior. And it's also something I can eat for ever. It's a really easy and tasty way to sneak a bunch of vegetables in without your body really knowing you're doing it. Which brings us to my next point. Ingredients. When you're planning your meals out, I highly recommend trying to use as many similar ingredients as you can. This does not mean that you have to have like Mexican food all week or Italian food all week, even though I really think that those are both beautiful ideas. What I mean is that like maybe if you are making that Spanish style, whatever the crap it is, rice that I just talked about, you can look at all the ingredients that you're putting in that and being like, okay, I'm using corn, tomatoes, cilantro, avocado. These are also all things that I could put in or on top of chili. I like doing this for a couple reasons, primarily because it makes things a lot cheaper because you can get larger like Costco sized amounts of things, and this doesn't even have to be core ingredients. I a lot of the time just end up prepping a lot of lettuce because it's something that could, hey, go in those enchiladas that we just talked about, but also can easily be thrown together as a base for a side salad with that pasta that you made. So lastly, I know I've rambled on quite a bit, and primarily it's been about lunch and dinner. Don't worry, I did not forget about breakfast. Breakfast, for whatever reason, is usually the easiest for me. I am a smoothie in the morning kind of person, and even more than that, I'm a simple smoothie in the morning kind of a person. But if you're someone that likes a fancy smoothie, what I would recommend doing is putting all of your ingredients except the liquids into just like a freezer lock bag and just toss that in the freezer. Then in the morning when you go to make it, you can just pour everything into your cup, blend it up, and you're on your way. But I know not everyone is a smoothie in the morning kind of person, so if you're not, this is an ideal time for all that fruit that we prepped earlier to come into fruition. Get it? A lot of the time I will just quickly throw together some oatmeal or a bowl of cereal or just put fruit on top of granola and yogurt, and wow, you have so many nutritious meals and options. And because all your fruit is cut up, you don't have to deal with cutting boards and knives and cleaning any of that crap. But for those of you that are diehards and want something really fancy, one of my favorite things to make is overnight oats. Now, if you don't know anything about overnight oats, where have you been? Because they've been around for a long time. Because they've been around for so long, there's like 1,000 recipes out there, so you win. But a good just general base to start with is by adding half a cup of rolled oats into a jar that can sit overnight. And you're also going to put in half a cup of liquid and half a cup or just like a container of yogurt, and then mix it all up. Personally, I really like, let me get them. Oh god, don't need it. I really like to use this shape of mason jar. This hole, a lot easier to like dig in and around versus those little cylinder ones, but to each their own. I also usually add some chia seeds and fruit on top so I can literally just take these out of the fridge and go. But if you prefer fresh fruit, that's why we cut all that crap up. Then you're just gonna let these sit overnight or 5 nights in a row if you're making a bunch like I do. And every morning you have a nice little container that you can literally just take with you. And when you're making this too, that's why I buy the individual yogurt containers, is because then you can make some peach flavored, you can make some blueberry flavored, you can mix the two, you can make peanut butter flavored ones. There's endless options, people, and it's very simple to just throw together, leave it overnight, and bam, you're fed. And yeah, that's pretty much everything for my meal prepping tips. I hope that this was actually helpful, but you should all go eat a good dinner. Go be on time for your next appointment, because I certainly am not, and have a nice day. Bye. Thank you for watching.